Welcome to Laptop Radio. Today's topic is Streetwing flying car. We have Dezso with us. Hello, how are you?
Hello, Michelle. Good to see you.
Good to see
It's a
you.
bit noisy here. I'm in Los Angeles by the airport.
No worries. I'm really excited to have you here. I've been waiting for this chat for a long time. I had a lot of fun at CES. Thank you a lot.
Yeah, you came out to the racetrack for the Autonomous Indy Racing League demonstration at CES. It was on the Thursday, and they ran several cars around the track. These are Indy Lights cars, so they're gas-powered cars, and they have different teams from around the world that are writing the code to control the vehicles so that they're actually driving fairly aggressively. They pass each other on the track, and so it's not just about see and avoid, it's about actual competition. That was at CES.
What is amazing is that humans are not driving the car, but AI is, and the AI is programmed by humans.
Yeah, by university students, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
I had some involvement with that group back when they started it several years ago. Sebastian Thrun, you're out of Palo Alto, I think you might be familiar with him. He was involved in the DARPA Grand Challenge. He was instrumental in starting the Indy Autonomous Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, my background is in auto racing in that I ran the US land speed race team. We built a car chasing the sound barrier. Now I've been focusing for about 20 years on flying cars. And the first ones I did were flying motorcycles. And that was a gyrocycle, which was a gasoline-powered auto gyro.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in 2005. We had that up and flying. And the one you mentioned is the Streetwing, which is my new machine. And it was effectively me just saying, look, they don't fly anymore because they can't afford the fuel. There's a lot of airplanes, private airplanes parked on the ground. So fuel costs are substantial. And I wanted to eliminate both the cost of fuel and the pollution. So that's the Streetwing. It's my new machine that I have running to solve those problems.
Tell me what and how you got into flying cars. When did it begin? Did you have an interest in cars in general when you were little?
Not really. I'm not a car person in general, but I do like aircraft. I'm infatuated with aircraft. And it was back in 2003, California was freezing. And I just said, let's get out of here. I want to go where it's warm. Let's go to Palm Springs. And he said, hey, we can't leave. There's no way. There's just too much traffic. So we basically bummed around until around 1 o'clock in the morning and had no problem. And I realized at that point that the traffic, because I hadn't been involved in it that much, but I thought traffic is a significant issue. But the main thing is that people drive into areas all at the same time. And then in the evenings, it's wide open. So I thought if I could make a vehicle that would allow me myself into congested areas and then just drive away when things are diffusing, it would be a different way of approaching the flying car issue, where a lot of people were just interested in flying in and flying out. I thought I'll just do half of the job. So that's where I started in 2003. And I did that fairly successfully with the gyrocycle, which is a machine that can land in about the size of its rotor blades and uses an auto gyro aircraft system. So they're very reliable and very inexpensive, and used in any motorcycle engine can power it. So it's fast on the ground and it works in the air. And then moving forward, I wanted to eliminate the challenges of the transmission that were the hardest part of building that vehicle. And so electric motors have become effectively quite robust now. And so that an electric motor allows you to eliminate most of the challenges of the transmission development. That's what happened. And like I said, I'm not a car buff. I built the land speed car with Craig Breedlove. And that was my first car, really, 700 mile an hour machine, but it was based on rocketry.
What's the difference between a flying car and an aircraft? How do you distinguish that?
Very simple. A flying car allows you to travel when you can't fly. If you have an aircraft and the weather's bad, you can't fly. If the aircraft wings don't work, you can't go anywhere. You're trapped. But if you have a flying car, you can travel on the road. All birds can walk. Every single bird can walk. All flying insects can walk. They have a reason to get along the ground. And it's the minute you get a 747 to the edge of the airport, it can't leave anywhere. Flying cars have been an ambition for more than 120 years. And the reason is, if you're an aviator, they have a very real value. A lot of times as a pilot, you'll find yourself stranded in places because there's just too much fog or there's too strong winds and you just simply can't go anyplace. So again, all birds are dinosaurs. They've survived every extinction. And they've done it because of their abilities to get around, I suspect. That or maybe the eggs. I don't know, but ask a bird.
I'll ask a bird.
That's my position on it, is that it gives you enormous amount of latitude. You really have control of where you want to be if you can travel in the air and on the ground.
When you make the flying car, who is your target audience?
Myself, yeah, I start with me. And then again, as I stated, people that are aviators, many have tried to do it, and they generally get lured into making helicopters or things like that along the way
Mhm.
because there's applications for it. So it's taken a long time to sort it out. But first and foremost, myself. And then again, like I said, people that will adopt it quickly will be pilots who recognize the benefits. And I'm going to start by positioning them, I should say, in explorations and in racing. Chapter has never been fulfilled with flying cars. So people have been making them for years, but they try to answer your question without being as rude as I am and just say, I made it for me. They start trying to appease their marketing department and say, oh, we're making this for rich people, or we're making this with air conditioning, or we're going to have 10 seats, and a toilet and a shower and a bowling alley. And what happens is the scope creep takes it so far away from basic functionality that it keeps landing in the position where people perceive they're just impossible or that they don't exist. It's the worst case, but there's hundreds out there. And that's why I said exploring and racing is a right now opportunity.
What are some of the challenges that you faced, and how do you overcome them when you make your first flying cars and the ones after?
Initially, it's just a matter of balance and determining all machines that we create are compromises in one way or another. And it's about compromising what functionalities you have and what position you want to put it in. And so it's simply a matter of making decisions. And as soon as you make a decision, you can go. The challenge is ignoring doubters. That I'm pretty good at. And then beyond it, you can, like I said, it's about positioning. There's a large industry for kit aircraft and for home built aircraft. Most planes flying that start flying today will be hand built by somebody that was determined to make an aircraft. And so I can position it in that market, and then there's will respond to it. Like I said, it's not my responsibility to make stuff for other people. It's just my responsibility to me to do things as well as I can and to illustrate it. Fabricating, I can do that. We make stuff all day.
What is the Streetwing flying car? What is your vision for that?
It's designed to be effectively the aircraft version of a sailboat, meaning if I told you you have a sailboat and you can travel around the world without using fuel for the rest of your life and very little maintenance, that would be true. You put the sails up, go out, the wind blows you, etc. So I wanted a vehicle that was faster. So I want something I can move quickly across the ground and quickly through the air and go places without using fuel. And that was the ambition. And as tested now, the vehicle has battery storage on it, and there's many ways to power it. But the design was to make something that was as efficient as possible based on the constants and variables in life, meaning our body weights, the air density, etc., and be able to travel with the least amount of energy. And so it's right now able to, I can drive it down the street at over 20 miles an hour in sunlight. That would power it. Or when you get somewhere, you'll have destination charging. So you can simply allow it to charge itself up and just continue your voyage forever without leaving a mess. Sailboats don't pollute badly, and airplanes do. So I'm trying to bridge that gap.
Awesome. Do we need a license for the flying cars, or does like our driver's license work?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I think that's good for driving on the road. And those are good skills to have. I'm not trying to skirt those issues. People need to learn to fly if they want to fly. You need a license to cut hair. You need a license to fish. Congratulations. So if you want to fly, learn. Like I said, I'm not taking on every battle, and it's not my ambition to make things that are so dumbed down that they don't work. So again, if we position it initially in exploring and racing, it's not our position to say, why don't we pave it or just run a staircase to the top? Everyone can get on the escalator to Everest. The idea is that initially you do these things, you illustrate these things, and you use them. And that refines it. And then the story becomes very compelling. In racing, every tennis racket or pair of a flying car race. That's the problem. So that's why we're doing that. I'm starting the Flying Car Racing League. I've got a couple vehicles, and we're going to start racing probably the end of this year in the fall. Awesome. Helicopters landing.
Awesome. If you're interested in aircraft, how do you get involved? Are you looking for talent?
There's certainly room for talent. Yes. As an inventor, I'm always looking for people that can build. I'm looking for people that would be experts in wiring and electronics because I'm doing a lot of electric motors and drive systems at this point. The vehicle can be powered again by different means, but I have a background in propulsion with jets and gas engines and things. But yeah, there's a group called the Experimental Aircraft Association. They have about 200,000 members. That's a good place for people to start. And you can learn a lot about this and find out what this niche is of creating new aircraft. And that's where most of the new technology comes from, or people working in that group are similar. The alternate side is just straight up defense. People are spending a lot of effort creating new weapon systems, but I'm avoiding that. I'm trying to stay on the lighter side of the force and make things that people can travel with and buy their friends a latte rather than just club them for the head. But yeah, I'm open to having help, and that's a good place for people to look and start.
If someone is interested and wants to help, what kind of technologies does this involve? So I'm thinking about a lot of physics, a lot of math, some AI. What are some of the skill sets that are required, at least a minimum, to make flying cars?
Again, flying cars have been around a long time, more than 100 years. There's existing designs in aircraft where you can simply cut and paste and apply them. There is certainly math involved where you're considering your weights and balances and those things. And so there's definitely an involvement of, it's applied math, really. We don't need to create any new technologies. But as I stated, one of the nice benefits of new tech is the speed of MOSFETs and motor controllers will allow us to mine energy. So it's very difficult to make fuel, but it's very easy to capture watts these days. And so that's a real benefit. And I would say that a person that understands battery technology, control systems, and motor applications, it's a good time for that. The airplane industry is going into a renaissance for electric powered aircraft. And the way to start is with very small planes. When you think of a 747, that aircraft designed on a gallon of gas and the size of the earth. Those are the places that they said, this is how much power we have in fuel. This is how big the world is. And this is how far it is across the oceans. And they designed those very large airplanes. That's not the system. The design of aircraft, airframes will follow power plants. And the power plants we have today, based on battery size, based on solar panel size, power of motors, lends itself really well to small aircraft that people can use as individuals. And so that's the place to start the math, to say, how do I do 1 or 2 person aircraft, and stop thinking about how we're going to make airliners run the way they did off fuel with something that has 1/10 of the stored energy. I'm sure your crowd here is very skilled at, obviously, with tech issues, and so they'll understand this.
Yeah. What is your vision for flying cars? Do you think that it will be a mass product one day?
I would say that any car that doesn't fly is a serious compromise. There are people all over the world that wait for flights. When their flights don't come in, they get very angry. There's people who are waiting to escape places, and when they can't leave, they get very upset. Having the illustration and their knowledge that you can get around in different ways, people tend to attract technology very quickly if it's the state of the art. People are not going to say, I heard that my neighbor had a new hip installed, but I don't want one. I'm going to continue limping. That's just not how people behave. Once they see that the tech is there, they feel entitled to it. So whether or not people feel entitled to something that they're right now saying, I don't think it should exist, is entirely in the future. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility is just to do as well as I can with the resources I have. And if people want to adopt it, that's up to them. Otherwise, people that have it early will have a competitive advantage, and that's fine.
Is there anything that you wanted to share that I have not asked you?
No. I'm just responsive to what you're coming up with your audience better than I do. And I don't know if they have an interest in aircraft or whatever, but I'll just say that, again, like I said, right now, getting the story out is valuable. When you said people can help, it's not just about the machinery, it's about the story. So I appreciate you sharing your audience. That's helpful. Yeah. And what I've been doing is basically locking myself in my shop for the last 10, 15 years, and I've crawled out of it. And I've taken the experiment as far as I will before I'll go out and say, we have a script, let's make a film. So that's where we are. So I would say that anyone that wants to help as far as the story side of it, then that takes the burden off of me.
What is one piece of advice that you have for the community?
If you want to do something, if you have a project and you have a vision, just focus on making progress. I would say that's the real benefit, because as long as you're making daily progress, you'll be able to feel some sense of accomplishment. And it's a good way to avoid the doldrums of extremely long-winded efforts. Like when we did land speed cars and things, it takes many years to make these things, and you have to break them down into small wins. So that would be my short suggestion, is that break it down and make progress.
Awesome. How do people find you?
I have a weird name, so you can probably find me. Just email me or whatever. Dezso Molnar is the guy. That's me. And I'm in Los Angeles a lot of the time. I used to be up where you are in Silicon Valley for many years, and just reach out. All those Twitter things or whatever. I don't really pay attention to any of that. But I'm easy to find if you want to find me.
Thank you, Dezso.
You're welcome. Fly safe, okay? Take care,
Okay.
Michelle.
All right. Bye-bye.